Michael Chandler's fucked. Michael Chandler's fucked. Michael Chandler's fucked. Whoops. You think you're prepared and then you're not. Look at him. Look at Roofy, dude. Look at him. Bop, bop. Punk, 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 punk. Dude, Michael Chandler's gonna die in the octagon on the White House lawn. He's about to die. We're never gonna see him again because he's gonna be dead, brother. And I'm not even joking. Welcome back. We're back after a long time. Just kidding. It hasn't been that long. Welcome to the DynamiteGizmo Podcast, everyone. That's supposed to be as loud as it is. Why was it turned down so much? Episode 293. Chose because we'll talk about it. I'm trying to come up with a new way, a new phrase, a new way to phrase that slogan that I used to do because I have to change it. But speaking of which, here is this week's card. Adesanya versus Pyfer. There are some changes. I believe this first fight of the night is gone. But this is a fight prediction sheet that I create. I create it. I do. Nobody else. I create it. And if you want this sheet, the link is in the description. You can download it for free. And if you're asking yourself, what the fuck is a fight prediction sheet? Well, have a look. You can make your fight predictions throughout the night. You and your family, whoever, friends, family, invite them all over. Download and print off these sheets. Hand them out to everyone. It makes it easy and fun to make your picks throughout the night. If you don't know how to use it, instructions are in the Drive folder link in the description. You can download the sheet and the instructions. If you would like, I could run you through it right now, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I do it enough. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. So let's just scroll in on one of the fights here. One of the fights. Bum, bum, bum. Let's just go to the main event, shall we? So as you can see, it's got the weight class, their names, their fight record, their Vegas betting odds, their nicknames, pictures of the fighters, the country of origin flag, their ranking. Okay? Throughout the night, you check off pick for the fighter you want to win, and whoever does actually win, you check off winner. Okay, you do that for all the fights, prelims, early prelims, main card. All right? On the right-hand side here, we've got some facts about the fighters and fights and whatnot. There is the area in which the fight takes place, the fight poster, the date in which it happens, a little QR code to follow me on all my socials, and then at the very end of the night, you can rate the card out of 5 stars. You can see if it was a flop, missed, met, beyond, exceeded expectations, and then you mark your score out of 14. Bada boom, bada bing. This is the greatest fight prediction sheet you will have ever laid your eyes upon. And might I also note, there's little boxes under here you can take notes. It's fun. Find a way to be creative with it. Don't just use it to make predictions. Maybe use it to help you and your family and friends bet throughout the night. I don't know. I don't care. But I make these sheets every fight night and every numbered event. Now, before we get into the segments of the day, I want to talk about some news. I want to start doing that. I want to start talking about some current events that is happening right off the Bing Bat, okay? There's been stuff breaking all the time. And you know when Ariel comes on the mic, it's the truth, okay? And according to Ariel, on his Monday show, his Monday show, he said Conor McGregor will fight on July 11th unless something disastrous happens. Something disastrous. Let's listen to the old Ariel himself to hear what he has to say.
It was lacking. It was just lacking. And it feels like there's just been too much of that as of late. And, you couple that with the answers that you get at the post-fight press conference, the demeanor, the state of things, the matchmaking. And this is why I continue to say the master of good timing, the beneficiary of the best timing in the history of the sport is Conor McGregor, because he is sitting there, I'm being dramatic here, kind of burning down that meme of the dog and this is fine. He's kind of sitting there being like, all right, yep, I'm sitting pretty right now. Of course you want me back. And I'm telling you, we told you about the meeting 2 weeks ago.
Of course we did.
I told you it went well. PT told you it went well. At this point, I think it would be safe to say that it would be a disastrous situation. Something disastrous would have had to have happened if he's not fighting on July 11th. They need this now more than ever. They need Conor McGregor to be on this card. They need this guy now more than ever, and they have to do everything in their power to make this happen. Let's play this clip of Max Holloway, because Max is very cerebral. Max is very calculated when he says things. Charles isn't getting that Conor fight after that fight. I don't even think Conor wants a BMF title. I think Max is trying to tell us something there, and I would put him with Nate out. It feels to me like he's trying to tell us, like, this is what I want, and I don't think he's talking if things aren't happening behind the scenes. And these talks are going well, and I think they're going well because the UFC recognizes, hey, we need to make this happen.
Yeah, dude. Whoops, let's bring myself back. Of course we need to make it happen. Now, the video that he's referring to about Max Holloway, I don't even know what he's talking about because I didn't see this episode of the Ariel Helwani show. So why don't we see if we can find it. Talks about Conor McGregor 2 days ago. Let's see here. Maxie boy. It's always Facebook. It's always fucking Facebook. It's always fucking Facebook, dude. Let's see. I got it here.
Like I said, man, before the fight I was talking about it. I mean, Conor's there, Conor got one over me. He's talking about coming back. I'm coming off a loss. I mean, it looked pretty fun to get down back, with him. So we see what happens. I know a lot of people are worried about the weight and this and that, but if he doesn't want to cut weight, then I don't want to cut weight. We can do it at any weight, to be honest. It's just about getting it back, So at the end of the day, that'll be a fun fight, but we see what happens. We see what way UFC wants to go, and that's all we can do, Sign me up, man. If 55 is kind of busy right now, we don't know who to pit. I know Conor keep talking about coming back. That'll be a fun fight, That fight.
Yeah. You repeat yourself a lot, Max Holloway. Don't you realize this? There's no way Conor McGregor is going to make 155. Not a chance in hell. But the way things are smelling, the way things are looking, it seems as though Conor McGregor, we know he's more than likely coming back for International Fight Week, of course. Okay? Why would they put him on the White House card? He said it himself. They never put him on these major events. 100, 200, 300. Whatever else he had mentioned. The big events, they don't need Conor because they're going to sell themselves. But where do they need Conor? The events that precede those already determined sales. Okay? People are going to watch the White House, but what they're not going to watch is the card immediately after that. But how do you make them watch it? Well, you put Conor McGregor on there. Conor brings in the money. Okay? Now, mind you, he would bring in the money. He would bring in the eyes. He would bring in the sales on the White House. But you can't have him there. You can't double whammy it. Have all the eyes flock to the White House already, as you know they're going to do, and then say, hey, look what we got next week. It's Conor McGregor. He's back. Now, there was another video put out today by Mr. Ariel Helwani, which just solidifies it almost even more that Conor McGregor is going to be fighting on International Fight Week. So why don't we take a looky-loo?
He ain't playing games. So frontrunner Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, he's confirming it right then and there. There haven't been any other rumors about his return. And so I think that the UFC recognizes that they've got to get the biggest star back. I think they're going to pay him better than what they were talking to John Jones about, better than the Conor Benn number, all that stuff. I think people are going to be very excited about it. You know, even Max said 170. Like I said, when Max put out that.
So when Ariel talks like this, when Ariel says these things, he would never ever say this shit unless he has the proper fucking insight into this information. He would never ever say this shit unless he knew for sure that there were talks, discussions, propositions with the proper people. We don't know what his sources are, but we do know that his sources are the most trusted in all of combat sports. If Ariel says something, you can always guarantee that it's truth. Now, he's not saying that any of this is for sure. He's just saying that what we're hearing is being discussed. But when he puts out this information like this, it means we're onto something here.
That clip, I knew exactly what he was doing. He hasn't talked about Conor in quite some time. Been doing that, and then he did it, and it made all the sense. Imagine thinking before that BMF title fight, the loser would end up fighting.
That's exactly what I was thinking. All right, because the whole idea of this BMF title was, it's like, okay, let's put Max versus Charles. And it wasn't necessarily going to be Charles Oliveira versus Conor McGregor. It could have been if Charles went out there and showed us how to be a BMF. But I guess the expectation was to have Max Holloway beat Charles Oliveira in a BMF way. Max still holds on to that title. And that would have been the perfect opportunity to put that up against Conor McGregor, but now we can't do that. But now we also can't even put Conor McGregor up against Charles because that's not exciting enough. The UFC is focusing on exciting fights nowadays. Very recently, just within the past, since Paramount teamed up with the UFC, I'm noticing they're just trying to go for exciting fights. They're slowly trickling that in. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is an interesting thing, and it is something we need to discuss. But let's continue this video right here. Oh, God.
Conor, I think we thought maybe if Max would have won, they would have done a BMF title fight. Perhaps this is an indication that they didn't love the Charles fight. I think we're going to see him July 11th. I saw Masvidal say the UFC wants him to come back, and they have an idea who the opponent is. And I saw people say, oh, he's got to be talking about Conor. He's not talking about.
Yeah, so Jorge Masvidal put out a video recently. And he says he is in talks with the UFC about his return. And I myself had speculated, oh man, I could absolutely see that being Conor. That's honestly a great matchup. For many reasons. You know, one of the biggest factors being that they're both stars in the sport. They both have been away from the UFC and MMA in general, so to bring them both back at the same time, even at similar ages, you know, that would make a lot of sense. But according to Ariel, not happening.
Conor. The Conor fight is not the one that they're talking about. Max Holloway ain't playing games. So front runner Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, he's confirming it right then and there. There haven't been any other rumors about his return. And so I think that the UFC recognizes that they've got to get the biggest star back. I think they're going to pay him better than what they were talking to John Jones about, better than the Conor Benn number, all that stuff. I think people are going to be very excited about it. You know, even Max said 170. Like I said, when Max put out that clip, I knew exactly what he was doing. He hasn't talked about Conor in quite some time. Been doing.
Okay, we're just repeating ourselves. We already watched this. Why are you fucking putting it on repeat, you dumb idiot? Gosh. Okay? But then Conor McGregor, I got to show you this too. Conor McGregor. Where are you at, Conor McGregor? He himself put out, actually, let's look it up on Instagram. Conor McGregor. He made a post saying something. There, I should have had this ready to go. Conor McGregor. Conor. The notorious Conor McGregor. Where's it at here? It's gone. Here it is. Let's read this together, shall we? Mr. Confidence returns to save fighting again. Call your grandma. Nanny, we did it. Watch and pay me. Fuck you, pay me. You fat Irish prick. You don't have my money. I put your brain to sleep. See yas in the casinos after. The Mac loves yas all. I got love for yas. All, it's an honor. It's light work. It's easy. For life and eternity, it's McGregor. Big money, Mac Daddy McGregor. I expect fawning of the highest for life. I do this fight game easy peasy. The sound of my shots off the head go bing in green dot laser form. Go BHP. Watch Divine Magic when I fight. Hey Paramount, see you guys soon. I'm so excited and born ready. The notorious Conor McGregor. What the fuck did I just read there? I thought there was more fucking nuance to that. But that was a bunch of malarkey. Anyway, I think what he's trying to say is his meeting with the UFC had went well, and we should expect to see him back. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. We've been down this road with McGregor, and we've been down this road recently. And by recently, I mean last year and the year prior to that. We were supposed to see Conor McGregor on International Fight Week 2 years in a row. And things keep fucking up over and over again. Now, is this going to be the year where things stop fucking up and we finally see him back? I don't know. I'm not hopeful. There is talks of it. Nothing is guaranteed. And again, even if and when or if I see the official fight poster, it still doesn't mean anything. Because I don't know if y'all remember, and I'll show you this here. UFC 303 was originally supposed to be Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, okay? There was an official poster. This was it. It was ready to go. It was announced by Dana White himself. And it never fucking came to be. It never fucking came to be. So we'll see. Okay? Some other news that we got going on here. You know that we saw Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy this past weekend. Not exciting as it could have been, but we'll talk about that later. And then Ali Abdelaziz, I always forget how to say his name. He put out a video today. And he is making a claim that Islam Makhachev has signed to fight in July versus the number one contender at welterweight. What does that mean? Is he saying the actual ranked number one contender? Because that would be none other than Ian Garry. Okay? But before we get into that, let's just hear... Hang on a second, I gotta wait for this to refresh. But let's just hear what Ali Abdelaziz has to say. Abdulaziz. Whoops. This was on TMZ Sports, by the way. Here we go.
Islam got offered a different fight at welterweight to be the main event. And Islam said, hey, let's do this in July. You know, he has some stuff going on. You know, Dana speak about it. He has some stuff going on, but I can tell you this. If this fight was offered in June, and Islam even have on one leg, he would have took the fight. But in a way, Islam already have a fight in the summer. He have a welterweight number one contender match against someone. It's a done deal already, and AFC will announce it probably soon. Islam.
Oh, whoops. It's a done deal. They're going to announce it already. So you would think, okay, did Ian Garry get the fight that he needs, that he wants, that he deserves? I don't know. I don't exactly know, but what I do know is that Ian Garry put out this video right after that Ali Abdulaziz video came out.
April 11th
Ian Garry should 1,000% be next to fight against Islam Makhachev. That's the fight. That's the biggest fight. That's the most intriguing fight. That's the one that you sell. April 11th. Ian Garry.
I got boogers in my nose. Boogers in my. So he's waiting. He's frustrated. He's saying, "Why aren't they calling me?" That's what this video is symbolizing. He's waiting on the couch by the phone for them to give him a call. Now, according to Ali, it's signed and ready to go. But I don't know. All right? Maybe it's going to be Michael Morales. Okay, let's actually take a look at the UFC rankings right now. Welterweight rankings, I should say. Okay. So Jack Della Maddalena is technically the number one contender when we look at the rankings, okay? But that's because Islam Makhachev just beat him for said title. But who's next in line? Ian Machado Garry. But who's right after him? Michael Morales. And right after him, Bilal Muhammad, who would never ever fight Islam Makhachev. They have close ties and a close Muslim Brotherhood connection. Okay, Carlos is not there yet. Sean, then then we're past the point. Okay, so it's either going to be Michael Morales or Ian Machado Garry. Ian Machado Garry is the more deserving one, but Michael Morales is going to be the more exciting one. Now, we talked about the UFC wanting to push more exciting fights with this new Paramount era. So are they going to shaft Ian Machado Garry and give Michael Morales a shot at the title? I don't know, but I could absolutely see them doing that. And as it looks from Ian Machado Garry's perspective, he's not getting a call. And he's frustrated, and he's been frustrated. He was close. It was looking like it was going to happen, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, if Ali is telling the truth, which it's hard to believe anything he says, it would seem as though Islam is coming back in July. Now, what's going on in July? International Fight Week. Islam is the welterweight champion. They're not going to throw him on a fight night card. He's going to have to headline the International Fight Week numbered event. So we could potentially see Islam Makhachev versus Michael Morales and Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor co-main. Now that would be a pretty sick fucking International Fight Week card. But what are we going to do about Ian Machado Garry? We can't sideline him because who else is he going to fight in the meantime? JDM? I guess he could, but that would be a little ridiculous. Okay? So I don't know. Now, mind you, if Ali Abdulaziz is talking about Ian Machado Garry and not Michael Morales, then fantastic. But to be completely fucking honest right now, even though Ian Machado Garry absolutely deserves this shot, I would be still okay with Michael Morales. And it's mostly because I know that would still be an exciting fight. I think they both deserve a shot. Ian absolutely deserves it more than Michael. But we need to understand that the UFC is thinking differently now that they're with Paramount, and I'm seeing it. They're trying to do entertaining, not always, but they're trying to do more entertaining fights rather than people who deserve it. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't fucking matter. Because whatever way you do it, people are going to complain about it. Okay? We've gotten exciting fights in the past, and people complain and say, hey, what about the guy who deserves it? Why doesn't he get the shot? Then you give the guy who deserves the shot, and guess what? It's a boring matchup. And then you say, hey, this one would have been way more exciting. This is why the rankings muddy the water. It confuses things. Because if you're going to have rankings, then you should actually abide by the meritocracy of it. If Ian Machado Garry is actually the number one contender based off of the rankings, aside from JDM because he just lost the title, then you would have to give him the title shot. But if we're just going to pick and choose whoever's the most exciting, then why the fuck do we even have the rankings? We can get rid of them. Now, mind you, I like the rankings. I think it's a nice little reference point. It's a viewpoint. It allows you to see, okay, who are the guys who are dominating right now? Okay? So I think the rankings should stay, but I think they should be classified in a different sense. Okay? And they shouldn't be used for people to reference as a standing point to decide who's next, because that's not what they're being used for as is. Okay? We're 25 minutes in. We haven't got to the... Okay, so two other things that I want to touch on before we get to our couple segments of the day. Just real quickly, I just want to say we got a rematch, okay, from two people who had fought in Ryzen years ago, and it was very exciting. And here they are back again. Manel Kape versus Kyoji Horiguchi, number 2 versus number 5. Horiguchi is climbing the flyweight ranks. After leaving the UFC, going in other organizations, winning belts in other organizations, now he's back. The second he comes back, he gets ranked, has another fight, gets a higher rank at rank number 5. Now he's going to fight Manel Kape to determine who is next in line for the title after Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van. Now, I think Horiguchi is going to smoke Manel Kape, and Manel Kape is going to have not a downfall. I think Manel Kape is not going to get past Horiguchi. Horiguchi will smoke Kape. Horiguchi will go fight for the title, and he will win the title. Manel Kape will fall behind a bit, but then every other fight that he will have after Horiguchi, I think he'll have no problem. He is a great fighter. Is he better than Horiguchi? No. Is anybody better than Horiguchi? The only person who might stand a chance against him is actually Pantoja. Pantoja and Horiguchi are two great flyweights, amazing motherfuckers right now. Okay, and I can't wait for the day that Pantoja comes back. God, what a way to go out. I sometimes forget and can't believe that's how fucking Pantoja lost the title. Ooh, I've got boogers. Watch me pick them. And the only other thing I need to mention is that Winged C had his pro debut, and it did not go as he expected. And once again, it was due to a head kick. He needs to learn how to block that shit, or how to defend that shit, or how to avoid that shit. And he's training with Faraz Zahabi. So you would think that he could work on these things, but it hasn't happened yet. Foul! Right to the head! Right to the head! Bumped his head into the cage. Okay? Now there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So what? He lost his pro debut. It'll get better. He lets these losses eat him every time he loses. But you know what? I think he's going to stick to it, and I think he has potential to get better. He certainly has, if you want to call it, aura. The thing is, he needs to work on his skill set. And he is with Faraz Zahabi, so there is potential there. Will we see him back? I think so, absolutely. Will we see him win? Maybe soon. I don't know. He had a great amateur record, but his pro record not going so great. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get into our first segment of the day. Michael Venom Page. I want to talk about Michael Venom Page. UFC London is over. And yes, as it would go, as it would seem, I predicted this card to be one of the best we could potentially get all year. And it turned out to be just another weird kind of bland one. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't fully lock in on every second of it. I had a nice lady over. But I watched it. I saw what I needed to see. And the first thing I want to talk about is MVP versus Sam Patterson. Now, look, let's get this out of the way right now. Sam Patterson is not to blame for this fight. If you didn't watch it, just understand this was one of the most boring fights I've seen in a long time. They circled each other for 3 rounds and maybe threw, 10 strikes total between the two of them? A couple takedown attempts here and there, but nothing even remotely worth watching. Now here's the thing. Every one of MVP's fights in the UFC so far has gone to decision. But usually there's something there. There's some grit, some excitement, a knockdown, a near finish, something flashy, something dangerous, something worth watching. But this had none of it. And when you compare that to what he used to be in Bellator, he looks lackluster right now. Straight up, lackluster. Great word, by the way. Even MVP himself said he wasn't impressed with his performance. He said this was his opportunity to show the UFC what he was capable of, even if it wasn't the matchup he wanted. But then you go out there and give us that, and then try to put it on Patterson, saying he wasn't engaging, wasn't falling into the traps? I mean, come on, brother. I get it. That's how MVP fights. He wants guys to bite so he can blitz in and out, but you cannot expect every fighter to play your game. At some point, you have to force the action. MVP is fully to blame here. Yeah, he won. He's now 4-1 in the UFC, but these decision wins, especially ones like this, they don't move you forward. They stall you out. And I'm being dead serious when I say this. We now know MVP has 1 fight left on his contract. He said it himself on Ariel Helwani. If he goes out there one more time and it looks like this again, there's no way in hell the UFC re-signs him. Not a chance. He's 38 years old. He's at the tail end right now. If it's not clicking by this point, that's it. And honestly, this might even explain why the UFC has been slow with him to begin with. Because yeah, as a personality, as an entertainer outside the cage, he's great. The walkouts, the energy, the moments, even the occasional flashy knockdown and dance. But the actual fight results, they all end the same way. Decision wins. And that is not what he brought into the UFC. And that is not what he was brought into the UFC to do. Especially not in this new era where the UFC needs moments, highlights, movement. I'll even say it right now. I regret saying he deserved to be in the co-main event. I was wrong. And I'm happy to say I was wrong. He walked out to They Don't Care About Us by Michael Jackson. And I was with him on that. And I still am to a certain extent. I do think the UFC doesn't really treat their fighters the way that they should. But if you're going to make that kind of statement, then you better go out there and show it. If you can't prove what you're capable of against Sam Patterson, how are you going to prove it against a top 10 guy? Feed MVP to Leon Edwards as soon as possible. That is the fight. Leon is coming off a 3-fight losing streak, lost the belt to Bilal, lost to Brady, lost to Prates. He needs a bounce back. If Leon beats MVP, huge rebound moment. If MVP wins, then finally we see that grand performance he keeps talking about. And at that point, you re-sign him, give him 3 or 4 more fights, see if he can actually build something towards a title run, because right now he's not there. Burns, Bonfim, Buckley, they're all ahead of him, but they're all booked for fights already. Leon is the perfect opening. MVP took no damage in this fight, so get him back in there before the end of the year. Time is ticking. He's already been derailed a bit with those back-to-back middleweight fights that he had and didn't even want. He doesn't have much time to waste. He said his goal is UFC gold. All right. Then let's find out if that's real or not. So let me ask you this. Is MVP still a legit contender at welterweight, or has his UFC run already peaked? Cock in the shitter, fucking a tit.
Moicano wants money! Joe Rogan!
Maba Babo, how you say his name?
Peppa Pig! Chocolate Peppa Pig!
I miss Walter Walker. He was supposed to be back this weekend. And guess what? Guess what? The motherfucker is out. Anyway, let's talk about the next segment of the day, and then I want to go over some fights to look out for this weekend. I want to talk about Israel Adesanya. This is the second and last segment of the day. Israel Adesanya is back. Now, am I excited for this one? Well, somewhat. Because the reality is, Izzy's reign is coming to an end. Sure, he can win this weekend. That's absolutely on the table. But even if he does, how much time does he really have left? That's the real question. We've been seeing a lot of big jumps lately. Guys going from unranked or low-ranked straight into the top 5. And now Joe Pyfer is right there, potentially about to take that number 4 spot at middleweight. And this is the cycle. We all know it. Every fighter has a window. And eventually that window starts to close. And with Izzy, it's not closed yet, but it's halfway shut. And we are very close to it slamming shut completely. If Pyfer wins, that window is damn near closed. Not fully, but it's close. And here's the thing. If Izzy wins, it doesn't really open things back up for him that much. Unless he goes out there and gets a nasty knockout. Because that's the one thing that could change everything. Doesn't matter who you are, a highlight finish will always reignite the fire. Now, does a win put him closer to a title shot? Maybe. But realistically, probably not. He would need at least 2 more solid wins after this. And look at who's ahead of him right now. Duplessis, Imavov, and Strickland. Those are his last 3 fights. 3 straight losses. So where do you go from here? And honestly, it sucks to even say this because I absolutely love Israel Adesanya. Adesanya. He had an incredible run. One of the best middleweight runs we've ever seen. Not the best, because of Anderson Silva. But he's right there. And that comeback against Pereira, one of the most iconic moments in UFC history. But since then, it's been downhill. And I'm not saying this is the end, but the trajectory is very real. And we've seen this story 1,000 times in combat sports. The old guard gets replaced by the new. Because even if Izzy wins this weekend, who does he fight next? The guys ahead of him have already beaten him back to back to back. So what does that make him? A gatekeeper? And there's nothing wrong with that, but is that what he really wants? At what point in your career do you look at that and say, yeah, maybe it's time? Now, he's not there yet, but you have to ask, what's actually left? Right now, it's the up-and-comers, and that's fine. But is that what motivates him? Because if he keeps winning, sure, maybe he finds his way back into the title picture. But based on how he talks about his career lately, it kind of feels like he's already halfway out the door. He's got other ventures right now, more specifically his DJ career. It doesn't feel like a guy who's all in on chasing gold anymore. And middleweight right now, there's killers everywhere. Top 15, it could be any of them. So I'll say it straight up. I'm not that excited for Izzy this weekend, especially with the kind of performances we've been getting lately. I hope he proves me wrong, but I genuinely don't know. Now I'll tell you what would be exciting. Izzy at welterweight. Imagine that. Imagine a world where Izzy drops down a weight class and just starts smoking guys at 170. Now, yeah, I know he's older. Weight cuts get harder, all of that. But he's a thin middleweight. And if he's not finding success at 185 anymore, going up to light heavyweight is definitely not the answer. That's not even realistic. But going down, that might be the spark. That might be exactly what he needs. Because right now, how does he get back to a title? Especially when you got guys like Islam and Khamzat holding things down across those divisions. It's a nightmare to break through. But welterweight, that division is already one of the most exciting in the sport. And you throw Izzy in that mix, now we're talking. And here's where it gets really interesting. As we know, MVP is trying to prove himself right now perfect. Let Izzy step in there with him. Two long, rangy, lanky, high-level strikers. That's a fight that actually delivers. Big names, big stakes, both with something to prove. Why not make it that? Because let's be real, both Izzy and MVP are at that point in their careers where they have to show something. And stylistically, Izzy might be a nightmare for MVP, or vice versa. We already saw that what Ian Gary's reach did to MVP, and he won that fight. And he was the only one to win against MVP. Now, Izzy has an even longer reach. He can keep that perfect distance, just close enough where MVP can't comfortably play that in-and-out game. Catch him off guard, drop him. Even disrupt his stance, trip him, whatever it takes, break the rhythm. That's the kind of fight that actually means something right now, and it would absolutely be wonderful, spectacular to do. So let me ask you, if Izzy wins this weekend, do you still see a path back to the title? Or is his new role officially gatekeeper to the next generation? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, there's 4 fights I want to specifically talk about this weekend. Number 4, number 7, number 9, number 10. Number 4, number 7, number 9, number 10. Number 4, number 7, number 9, number 10. Let's take a look at the sheet, shall we? Number 4, number 7, number 9, and number 10. So let's take a zoom in at number 4 here. The 4th fight of the night. Actually, it might be the 3rd because I think this fight has been canceled. So I have to update this sheet. The sheet will be updated and uploaded by Friday, just so you know. Oliver, the dog. Don't be licking your crotch. So we have Navajo Sterling versus Lopez. Can't remember his first name. Do I have it written down anywhere? Nope. Of course I don't. Why would I? Now, I don't care about Silva, but who I do care about is Navajo. Navajo is a nice little prospect boy. He's rising up in the light heavyweight division, and he trains with Israel Adesanya. He's from New Zealand, and he's undefeated, 8-0. And he's talking about how hard he's had to work to get to this point. And he's finally here now. And I love watching this guy fight. And if I'm not mistaken, he has only won by decision so far, other than his Contender Series fight. Which even that one he might have won by decision, I don't know. But I want to see what this gentleman can do. I always love watching him. I don't know what it is about him, but I like it. And we're going to find out what he's capable of this weekend. The next fight, the number 7, 7th fight of the night. Again, that might change. We've got Chase Hooper versus something Gibson Jr. Can't remember his first name. He is Canadian, but the last time Gibson Jr. fought, it was his debut fight against none other than Bobby Green, or as he likes to refer to himself as, King Green. Anyway, Gibson Jr. couldn't get past Bobby Green. He couldn't do it, and he didn't look great in that fight. And mind you, it was short notice. He is Canadian. I do like that. Do I think he's going to win against the good old Chase Hooper? I don't think so. I think Chase Hooper is going to absolutely submit him. And Chase Hooper is an interesting person to watch because he usually wins when you don't expect it to happen. And he's so young, and he looks like a child. But this one should be an interesting one. Next up, we've got number 9, Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson, another Canadian. I'm Canadian, that's why I keep mentioning that, okay? Now, T-Rex, he hasn't won every fight in the UFC, but the ones that he has won have all ended in round 1. The guy loves to finish people in round 1. He's a round 1 king. That's why they call him T-Rex. Well, it's because his name is Terrence McKinney. But he wrecks shit. He wrecks people. And I'm imagining he's going to absolutely smoke Kyle Nelson in the first round. But we'll see. And then number 10. Next up, we got Abdul Malik versus Belgaru. These guys are 2 smashers at middleweight. We saw this guy debut on the Vancouver card, and he impressed the hell out of me. And then Abdul Malik also has been impressing me. And this guy's mindset, he was on Ariel a few months ago, and the mindset this guy has going into fights is absolutely inspiring and absolutely incredible. Okay? We got an undefeated fighter against, so 9-0 versus 9-3, like whoosh. I feel like something's telling me that this is going to be a bloodbath of punches and kicks and bites and penis grabs. It's going to be a lot of that, a whole lot of that. Not necessarily going to happen for sure, but something's telling me that that's going to happen. So remember, if you want this fight prediction sheet, the link is in the description or in my bio. Click that link. It'll take you to the drive. You can download, print off the sheet for free. It also has instructions on how to use it if you forget, or you just want to print those off as well to show the folks that you print these sheets off for. Invite your family over. Have a fucking fight night. Bring some friends over. Get some chips and dip. Maybe a charcuterie board. Lots of beers. Hand out these sheets to everyone and say, hey, let's have fun predicting fights tonight, bitches. I'm telling you, it's a good time. Or just print it off for yourself. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Dynamite Gizmo Podcast, episode 293. I hope you enjoyed it. Now remember, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that fat fucking bell. I don't care about any of that. Just subscribe. Subscribing is the most important. That's the thing that I care about the most. And hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!